The NBA.com. This is John's reports for the 23rd of July. Well, this is the intraday 5K chart. We started off with a bit of weakness there going into, the early part of the European session and from the Asian session as well. Once we made the new lows, though, right as we were finishing up and popping into regular time, things started to make a nice move, and that was pretty clean for the most part. We had some nice intraday resets within it. Put that line there just because I'm working on the code adjustment a little bit to bring that to a earlier turnaround for the upside move. But that was also clean. But then by late in the day, shifted back, pretty much gave a non-existent, and that was fairly reasonable for what we had the daily. There was just no real incentive. And of course, things are getting worse from a oil standpoint, and that continues to put strain on. And that's what we see right now here in the beginnings of the European session, just starting to turn around from the Asian view. And when we look at it from the daily standpoint, you can see we're just caught in this malaise. But now you have it. What we were talking about, where you needed the magenta, you got magenta over, but failing poorly, and now you have MBI white leading. So again, it's just blah, ugly, and shakeout, not much of a help here. The negative territory, slight improvement. So this is a mixed bag. Which just means I expect back and forth. Now when we look at the NQ though, bit stronger. So is the NASDAQ going to be enough to hold things together? This is what we talked about before, where we're going to get the pivot of orange prior to dipping below green. That's a big negative. Yeah, any fade here of magenta now below 25, I'm expecting the zero and below zero actually at that particular point. So that would continue the negative narrative. That would definitely drag the S&P down. And this is because of this oil. You're almost at 90 now, and that's gonna, there's no way around it. I mean, fine, you had the reasonable CPI come through. The bigger concern with the CPI that came out was, where was the missing oil increase in price, because it was real, and is that a reflection that other areas are starting to have a bit of deflationary pressure against what is rising costs, which is really not good, because that would be recessionary broadly. So that's the narrative question of, have we seen enough decline in economic activity that the cooling of the AI, and that we're going to see a negative GDP number come through in the next quarter right before midterms and stuff. That could be ugly, but it would not be a surprise given what we're seeing here, because you're not seeing any even attempt at trying to modify what gas is doing. And it's interesting, because in 2016 that was the exact opposite of his approach, was to have lower energy, and now it seems like for some reason it doesn't matter now. It's weird, because we all know that lower energy prices are the economic engine that drives everything. So Euro, again, for them it's just a back and forth. It's a question of how bad things are for the U.S. and whether or not they're able to borrow as much money as they want for the upcoming war. We'll see how it goes. Still, relative to what their output is, that's an extremely high euro value. As much as they want to claim that the dollar is overvalued to what? Compared to what you're producing, not even close. The euro is way overvalued. From a gold standpoint, it's going to fight its way back. Once you get the numbers come through from CPI that start to show things stagflationary kind of configuration, you'll see gold make another move. Likewise with Bitcoin, it'll be the same configuration. We're just in this range from the 50K and just pulled right back into it. It's nothing spectacular. It was just a classic magenta dip down below. MBI white started to rise. Once you dip below the 25, it escalated. There's still some broad up and down ranges with it, but white took over completely, and the rest was history. That dip below the 25, usually if yellow is above an MBI reading, it's not great. Usually accelerates pretty quick. The DOC spread, where you have the cyan crossing over, is usually your starter case, and that's the indication for that lovely violet colored candle. Let you know that took place. So all in all, market's behaving. It's just not a lot of what people are excited about, but intraday, we're getting fabulous ranges with just huge lifts. If you see these P2s, P3s, the X's, that's just higher pivots of the red DOC. Uh, Tends to indicate where you've had your primary move and then you're getting a secondary kind of lift, and that's where you look for that orange to blue green. Usually is the beginning of your next decent ride, and that was exactly what took place over here. Sometimes it doesn't follow through. And this was the case right here. Got muck in the late hours post market. Not a lot of strength and commitment to it, and it didn't do anything until we got into that European Open. But that's long and the short of it for now. Anything relevant, I will certainly put on the team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.